Can I and should I pre-sell my online course? Ooh, very hot topic coming up right now on the Rise to the Top. And welcome, my friends. It's your great and good friend, David Siteman Garland. Welcome to the Rise to the Top podcast. Very, very hot topic today. And this is something that, I'm probably asked about at least 4 or 5 times a week, if not more than that. And I understand it. We're going to break this down completely. And here's the question. Can I and should I pre-sell my online course? So that's what I'm going to break down here today in this kind of short-ish version of the Rise to the Top podcast. And by the way, half the fun of this is that then anyone that says, hey, can I and should I pre-sell my online course from now until eternity, I can just refer them to this episode. We'll create a cool link for it, like, the risetotop.com/presell, and then I can send everyone there, and I could just maybe print these out on a little card and pass them around town. All right. So let's talk about it. 2 schools of thought here. We're just going to hop right into this. I've got my second double espresso of the day here today. So I'm telling you right now, we're going to be talking fast in this episode. Okay. So 2 schools of thought, right? School of thought 1 is that you record your course and then you sell it and deliver it, right? So meaning you record your course first, you get your microphone, however you're going to do it, you record your course, you get it up online, then you sell it, then you bring in your students, and the entire course is there. Regardless of whether you give it to them all at once, which is my preferred method of doing it, or you drip the course to people over time, the point of number 1 is you record first, okay, then you sell it, right? The second way is what we call pre-selling. So it's the complete opposite. You sell it first, then you deliver it, right? And that's kind of school of thought number 2 is you sell it first, you do all the marketing and all that kind of stuff, and then, hey, people bought it, awesome, now we deliver it, okay? Now, I have seen it done, and I have done it myself both ways, and I'm going to break them both down for you because here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of factors in this that are very individual. And there's not necessarily a right and wrong way here. It's going to be what fits you, your personality, your situation. And I think after listening to this episode, or I know you'll have a really strong roadmap of, okay, I want to do it this way or I want to do it that way. Okay? Right? So I'm going to break it down. Each one, we're going to go through kind of the pros, kind of the cons, and then tips for each. Okay? So number 1 is, again, you record your course first and you sell it. And this is the way I do it with especially my big flagship courses like Create Awesome Online Courses. It's really my preferred way of doing it. For me personally, the way I see it is it's less stressful, right? Why? You might think, well, that's crazy. You're doing additional work up front. Why is recording it first less stressful? Well, then I could kind of really batch what I'm focusing on. So for example, I like to have a time when I'm recording. I like to then have a time when I'm marketing. And then I like to have a time when I'm then taking care of my students when I come out with a new course, right? So I like to have those as sort of separate times that don't necessarily overlap. So I've found it personally to be less stressful. Okay. And also, if you're a personality type that likes to be done with things, like you like to have a checklist and you like to say, okay, I am done, I can move on to the next steps, pre-recording is a fantastic way to do it, right? And also, what I love about pre-recording as well is that you get to give students everything at once so then they can decide how they want to go through the course. I mean, some people prefer to drip their course. I like to give everything at once. We are living in the Netflix era now. Right? This is the Netflix binge watching era. And I'm a huge fan of giving everything to everyone right away and letting them decide, right? Letting you decide how you want to go through the course. Do you want to watch it all tonight and then go implement it over 6 weeks? Great. You want to, just watch 1 week at a time for 12 weeks? Great. You're giving people the option as opposed to dictating it for them with a course, especially if you think about it the way that I teach it and Create Awesome Online Courses and the way that I really kind of stand behind and the way I approach courses is that you are creating an asset that you can sell over and over and over again, right? It's not just about the launch. It's not just about launching once or twice a year. This is something that you can sell 24/7. And so once you have it up and you can have it delivered to everyone and they could go whatever pace they want, you could bring in students all the time. All right. So that's something to keep in mind with the kind of pre-recording method. So again, you're delivering it to people right away. Okay. Now, what about number 2 here? Okay. Number 2, can you sell it and deliver it? You absolutely can, right? So meaning, can you do the launch first and then, hey, let's deliver it. Now let's talk about this, right? What are the benefits of doing this? Well, you could probably imagine the major benefit of selling first, then delivering is that at least on the surface level, it's less risk in terms of the work you have to do. So for example, if I get a launch together and I launch a course and people just aren't interested, despite whatever research or whatever I think or whatever you think, right? And people just aren't buying it and no one's interested in it, then I don't have to create it, right? If you do a pre-sell. Does that make sense? Because if hey, nobody bought, well, now you don't have to create it for them, right? But here's the thing to keep in mind is, again, thinking long-term here. Just because people don't buy on your first launch or maybe a few people buy doesn't mean your course is not a success. It's all about the long-term, right? Can't emphasize that enough. But let's not confuse one other thing here that's important. I'm going to kind of dive into this in a second. Is let's not confuse slightly less risk with no work. So people confuse this, right? Some people use pre-selling as a crutch, which is not what you want to think about it that way. Let me take an extra sip of espresso here because this is going to be a DSG rant here coming. So this needs a sip of espresso. So people confuse this fact of saying, well, if I pre-sell a course, it's going to be less work. And that's not true, because here's the thing. It's not just going to be like you're going to send out an email and say, hey, are you guys interested in this course? Maybe, maybe not. Hey, buy it right here. And if you're interested, I'll make it for you. No, that's not how this works. Let me explain exactly how this works if you want to pre-sell it. And I'll give you some examples of people that do this as well that have been very successful with it. So can you pre-sell it? Absolutely. Okay. So here's a few tips to keep in mind, right? Number 1, you have to be clear in your marketing how and when it will be delivered, and just be honest with your people, right? So just say, hey, listen, this is the enrollment date. This is when the course is going to quote unquote start, right? And then I'm going to deliver you a brand new module every Tuesday or whatever it might be, okay? So you want to be clear. You don't want people to think that they're buying something that they're going to get access to right away. You just got to be very clear. Now that's a very simple thing, but unfortunately some people overlook that. Right? And they'll just say, hey, here's my course. And then people buy and they're like, where's the course? Well, it starts next week, right? So you want to be very clear in your marketing about that. That's number 1. Now, number 2, and this kind of goes back to the confusion that some people have about confusing the word pre-selling with lack of effort, because it's not true, is that number 2 is that the marketing doesn't really change. The launch of your course does not really change even if you're pre-selling it. There will still be a launch. There will still be an open cart period. There will still be a closed cart period. Now, the only thing that's really changing is the delivery, right? The delivery, meaning that now you're going to deliver it either live or pre-recorded, which I'll talk about here in a quick second, okay? So the marketing doesn't really change. Some people think, well, if I pre-sell it, I could just be really lazy with my marketing. I could just, send out a survey. Hey, are you guys interested? Hey, buy right here. No, you're still going to go through a launch process. I, of course, teach this in Create Awesome Online Courses, where we break down, we call it the Mediapreneur VIP launch, which is the first launch of your course, which we break it down and we give some great free content away, a free video series, and then we lead up to that launch of your course. So the free video series leads up to the launch of your course. There's content emails to get people excited about it, all the different things that you do. And then, by the way, that launch can then be automated in the future. That's how we teach it. That's how I teach it inside of Create Awesome Online Courses, is we do this free content period leading up to the launch of your course. Then the course opens on a certain date. It closes on a certain date. That's how we do a launch, and those can all be automated in the future, right? But you're still going to do that. If you're pre-selling, you're still going to do the exact same thing. You're going to do the same list building strategies. You're going to do the same marketing strategies. You're going to do the same launching strategies. The only thing that changes is the delivery, okay? So number 3 is the delivery. Number 3 is the delivery. There's 2 ways to deliver if you pre-sell. Okay? So if I don't pre-sell, how do I deliver my course? Well, I put it all up on my CourseCat site. And then there it is. You log in, it's all there, all the bonuses are there, you're good to go. That's how it works if you pre-record. Now, if you pre-sell, okay, what do? There's 2 ways of doing it. 2 ways of doing it in terms of the delivery. Number 1 is live. Okay, so live, and again, this takes a certain personality type to be comfortable going live with this, okay, is that you can either do it on Zoom, go to webinar, it does not matter what you're going to do. Whatever you're going to deliver it, it's totally fine. That's not relevant. The tech is simple with that, okay? But what you're simply going to do is, let's say you're going to have, 6 modules of your online course. Then you would do 6 weeks, let's just say, right? So you say, hey, every Tuesday at 10 a.m., I'm going to be live, and we're going to go through module 1 is this, module 2 is that, module 3 is that, module 4 is that, etc. And you're going to deliver those just live online, right? And by the way, it doesn't really, hopefully people show up that have enrolled in your course, but even if they don't, that's fine. You're going to send them the recording, pop it up on your site, and you send them the recording. So you're just recording it live, and then you're putting it up online. Nikki, Eledge, Browne, who was one of our earliest case studies in Create Awesome Online Courses, one of our earliest success stories, who did a course about copy. That's how she did it the first time she did her course. So she delivered it live, okay? So she did it every week over time, okay? That's what she did with it. Now, realize, I've asked her about this before. She liked that. She did think it was a little bit stressful because every week she had to get on there and do it live, but that worked for her. That's what she did. So you deliver it live, then you upload it online. That's number 1. The other way of doing it, number 2, is that you still pre-record each week. You just deliver it at a certain time, a certain day each week. This is what Pat Flynn does. This is how he originally did his, for example, one of my favorite courses that I've taken, Power Up Podcasting. What he did is he said, okay, I'm going to pre-sell it. Okay, I've got my students. Let's say he had, I don't know how many students he had. Let's say he had 100 students. He's got 100 students in his course. Great. He then says, okay, it's going to be, over 6 or 8 weeks, whatever it was. Let's call it 8 weeks. And then every, let's say Tuesday at 10 a.m., he would deliver them a new module. He'd send it out via email. He'd upload it to the site. Now, he didn't do it live. He pre-recorded it. So he would sit there in his studio. He'd turn on his camera. He would record his slides, just like you would pre-record a course. It's just that he did it as he went throughout those 6 or 8 weeks. Does that make sense? So I feel like you're in the room and you're like nodding, like that makes sense. So meaning you don't have to necessarily do it live where everyone is sitting on this call and on these slides with you. You could also just do it each week. You record it, you upload it, and you just send it to people at the same time every week. And it's very important, by the way, you do send it at the same time and date so that people could stay consistent if you're going to do that. Right? So you don't want to just send it, this week you're going to be Tuesday at 2 p.m. Next week's going to be Thursday at 4 p.m. No, you want to be consistent with when you send it out. So you could do it live, or you could still pre-record and kind of drip it to people every week. You could do it either way. Either way is fine. Then, after you deliver your course, then you can, of course, edit it, evergreen it, etc. Okay? So it's just because you record it live once doesn't mean you have to then do that every time. Now you've got this asset that you can now resell. We do that with all our workshops, for example. So when you see my workshops that we do, we record them once. We've got an amazing live audience. And for example, create awesome Facebook groups, things like that. And we've got some other cool workshops coming out this year as well, that when we record them, we record it once. And then now we've got this great product that we could sell over and over again, which is awesome, right? So you could then evergreen it from there. Another cool thing, if you decide to do live and you have actual live people on there, you can also do Q&A with them, and you can add that on as a bonus in the future. So you can say, hey, this course was recorded live in front of an audience, and they asked some great questions. I bet you have similar questions, so we're going to take these Q&A and we're going to turn it into a little bonus where it's frequently asked questions and things like that. So again, you can do this either way, okay? The most important thing to me, the most important thing to Uncle DSG is that you get your course out there to the world, right? Because the world needs your course. It's very hard to help people. It's very hard to make money. It's very hard to teach people things. It's very hard to have an amazing business if this stuff is just in your head. You want to get it out there and get questions like this off the table. That's why I'm here on this podcast, here to help you with things through this free podcast, through our free Facebook group, through, of course, my paid programs like Create Awesome Online Courses. It's here to help you because that's the thing. We don't want things like this holding you back. So what's my advice for this? Can I and should I pre-sell my course? It's really up to you. You've got to look at within yourself and decide, where are you at right now? Are you a very confident person? Are you like, okay, I know people want this. I'm gonna pre-record it and sell it. What's your personality type? Are you a little more cautious? Are you a little more risk taker? Those things are gonna factor in this. Whatever you feel comfortable with, I say go for it. Okay, I say go for it. That's the most important thing, is choosing a way and getting it done. And again, I normally do record then sell it, but I've done it both ways, and both ways can absolutely work for you. Again, just keep that in mind, that it's all about the long term, and that again, you just choose what works for you. Okay? So I hope that helped clarify a very important question. And by the way, if you ever have a question you want me to answer on this podcast, I'm happy to do it. We're doing all kinds of Q&A stuff on here. A great way to ask, by the way, is to join our free Facebook group, Rise Nation. So in Rise Nation, if you're into online courses, online marketing, personal branding, digital products and programs, whatever it might be, go over to joinrisenation.com. Joinrisenation.com. That's the free Facebook group. And by the way, when you post, there's rules in there about how you post. You use hashtags and things like that. But just say, hey, I've got a question for the podcast when you post, and you never know, might be answering it up here on a future episode of the Rise to the Top podcast. And also for all my Create Awesome Online Courses students, you can, of course, post any questions anytime inside the private Create Awesome Online Courses Facebook group, which I am in every day with my team, helping out with all that kind of good jazz as well. So definitely join up on that group. If you've got questions, you know what? I'll do my very best to give my highly caffeinated answers here on the Rise to the Top podcast. Now, a couple things on the way out here, a few reminders, other good jazz that's going on. We've had a lot of folks that have listened to the Rise to the Top podcast and decided, you know what? I do want to learn how to create, promote, and profit for my own online course in the right way. Learn exactly how to do it, how to launch it, how to put it together, every possible thing, and also join the #1 community online for online course creators. And that is all through my #1 program, Create Awesome Online Courses. And you can unlock a special offer just for listeners of the Rise to the Top podcast at the createawesomeonlinecourses.com/unlock. That's #1. #2, we continue to add great ways to subscribe to the podcast. You could go to therisetotop.com/subscribe. We're always coming out wherever there's going to be podcasts. We're going to be at it. All right. And by the way, your reviews are always appreciated on iTunes at therisetotop.com/iTunes. Thank you so much. Great seeing the feedback on there. It keeps me going, and it also helps other people know about the show as well. That wraps it up here for this episode of the Rise to the Top podcast. I will see you in the various Facebook groups. I'll see you in my email, maybe in your dreams. Who knows? See you next time. I'm David Site McGarland. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.